And it all started 1 year ago, last August. Welcome to starting over at 35. So let's just chat a little bit about what is actually going on. So I am, last Friday, was my last day at my corporate job, and it felt like the last day of school. Like, it felt like I was going into summer break, and it's exactly how I wanted it to feel. I will say June was filled with anxiety and stress and questioning and all of the things, right? But I'm glad that I went through all of that, because it's made me feel very determined and focused, and a lot of stuff has happened since that has felt very, for the lack of a better word, kismet. Like, things just keep falling into place, and I know that there's still a lot of action that I have to take and a lot of things that I need to do personally, but I am deeply excited about this new path. So let's go back just a little bit, and I'll tell you where I started, to kind of give you the whole background. But yeah, this is Tuesday at 8:20 in the morning. I already read a book yesterday. I read a whole book. My brain feels new. But yeah, let's get back to a little bit of how this all started. So, what got me here, I'm sure, is what you're probably wondering. So, with hopes that, this might be able to help other people, or, just be a place where I can document this. I'm going to share. In the past year, I was living with a partner, and that ended, and I moved out, and a week later my dad died. And then I decided, I didn't know where I was going to go, and so I decided to move. So I moved states and to a brand new city, and I bought a condo, and I am so happy. But then I kept saying, I just blew up my entire life, but at least I didn't quit my job. And yet, almost 6 months later, here I am, feeling a little bit like, everything needs to burn down. There's like this sense of like, I told myself back in, it was a year ago now, before everything happened, and I just kept telling people that, like, and I wrote this in my journal, but like, I just felt like a chapter, it wasn't just a chapter, but like my book was ending. Like something was feeling final. Like there was this sense of overwhelming, like, finality to something. And so there's a lot more to this story, but I will say that, like, and I kept saying in September for some reason, and there was just this like overwhelming feeling, and in September is when everything happened. So since then it just feels like domino after domino after domino of these pieces of my old identity or life or what I accepted have just been shattered, and for good. And I think that's it's a lot, but at the same time, I've been open to the idea that these things, by something, ending, I get to be, I get given something else in return. And so whether that's something that's unnerving or scary or, uneasy because it's something new, I'm open to it and I'm excited. But yeah, so that's kind of where I am at now. And I'm going to quit tomorrow, but there's a caveat that if it ends up being that tomorrow feels off, then, I'll push it. But for the sake of it, I just wanted to share kind of how I'm feeling. And so I'm going to get a little bit into some of the background and I'll dig a little bit deeper. But with that, it is lunchtime and I need to get back to my work at the moment. All right, so it is Monday, July 14, and I am quitting my job on Friday. I can't believe it either, to be honest. It has been a long time coming, and I personally up until even like last night, those like thoughts of being like, should you wait? Should you like think about it a little bit longer? Should you like whatever? And it's like, no, there's certain times when you've done enough thinking and you just have to do and act. And I think that's where I'm at. So, we are officially in the week of, and I'm going to be sharing every day how I'm feeling, what's going on, what are those thoughts, to kind of hopefully, if you are also thinking about this, you might not feel alone if you are also toying with some of these or struggling with these same type of polarizing kind of thoughts of like, do it, don't do it, do it, So I will get back to you later. Today, what's going through my mind was the similarities to how I felt back in 2016 when I also did a really big life change. And I will say it's oddly weird to be like forced again with the same type of feelings of, financial insecurity and all these other aspects, and like doing something new and going in a path that isn't normal or quote unquote normal. And it is normal. It's just, people don't share about it. So I'm going to try and share how I'm feeling the rest of the week as I kind of lead up to it, because this has been a long time coming and it's also a really big decision that I have not taken lightly. I think in June, I just had, when I look back on some of my journals, it's like June was, if I could describe it, it was an anxiety attack, just all of June, which not enjoyable, but I will say for anyone that might feel similarly, I'll share some of those thoughts along the way. So, so it's Monday and it's been a really weird couple weeks, but I kind of was toying with, different days and when I should do it. And this day has kind of just been like on my heart a little bit. And so we'll see how it goes. And I'm an odd mix of terrified and excited. So I've been working this job for about 4 years now, and I'm just at this like, when you just feel this like internal shift and you just aren't sure, that like, what's the right, this is what it is. It's, when you have that internal shift where you just genuinely feel like you're on this conveyor belt and you're moving in this path that like you chose to go down this path, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with this path, right? So like you've got your security, your financial independence, you've got food, you don't have to worry about stuff, like you have everything you need. And at a certain point, it just ends up being something where you're like, you start questioning, you're like, why am I still here? Why am I going down this path still? How did I get to this place? And it's so easy to think that like, oh, staying on this path, it's provided me the things and the security and the confidence and these other opportunities that have been worthwhile. They've been things that have like propelled me forward, but it's like there's this internal shift where you just know that like staying here is not going to allow you to be the person and do the things that like you internally know you need to do, right? So it's hard because you just feel like this genuinely would be the easiest path, just to stay. And I think that's where I am in this, my corporate life is I've done everything from working for a startup to working for a mid-tier company to working for a nonprofit to working at a franchise location, but we were the corporate side of it for the entire franchise, but also we had our own separate, and now working for one of the largest companies in the United States. And I have seen every aspect of it. And I think every single time I've thought, okay, once I get to a bigger place, it'll be better. Or once I get to here, I'll maybe that's where I'm supposed to land. But every single time I get here, there's this like sense of something's missing. And and I think what I'm realizing is like, there's nothing wrong with that. With staying, there's nothing wrong with finding the area and the environment that suits you. But I think where as well as I know there's other people out there that feel like, what if you don't feel like that environment suits you? Where do you go? And so I am in this place where I've like deeply struggled with the idea of quitting. I've gone through an entire month of really intense anxiety around it once I realized that I needed to do it. And so, yeah, and it's odd because I've given myself this like moment of being like, nope, just keep, you can keep pushing it back. You can kind of like wait till you're a little bit more comfortable. And this past week has been really weird. So let me tell you a little bit about it. I think it's one of those moments where I feel really calm and at peace about it. But at the same time, it's slightly nerve-wracking. There's a little bit of that fear of letting go of security, especially in this day and age and the moment where we're in, but I'm willing to take a chance on me because the thing that keeps coming up as I think back on everything is like I would rather be 80 and not regret, not taking a chance on myself versus being 80 and regretting never taking a chance. So I'm taking this opportunity where I have an entire year's worth of emergency funds saved, and I am going to give myself a break. So I'm scared, but I'm also very hopeful for the future, and I have a lot of things planned. So with that, I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into what I'm going to be doing, but yeah, I don't know. It just feels very calm, which I think is good.
Scrolling on my phone, mind gets caught, lying to myself. I'm greener grass, dream another life, one that's not so hard.
All right, so I have officially just given my notice. I've cried so many times today. The first were tears of overwhelm. The second was clarity, I think. And then I just had this last conversation with my manager. And it was joy, I think, of like knowing that I think there's something so it's like intangible in a way, like I can't describe it. I just know it's this sense of like deep rooted peace and clarity that I have at this moment. And although I know it's such a hard thing to like, it's a hard thing to want to make decisions off of. And I will say that like I have been deeply terrified of making this decision based off of this like poll, but like I do deeply know that like I have to do this, and like I have to do this and I need to try. And so like I think that's what's balancing this out, in the sense of like I am scared, but it's a good scared, because for something brand new and to try something like this, I'm so deeply excited, and I have not been this excited in years. Like, I was excited to go into this path. Again, I was excited to go into this path when I was transitioning from just like true graphic design into UX. And I remember the same type of feeling. It felt expansive, and it felt like exciting, and it felt like a scary sense of like, but it felt right. And like, this feels equal, but this feels so interesting, because I've never given myself a shot before. I've never truly provided this space for myself to be able to try, like truly try. And I am so excited and ready, and I will tell you a little bit more. I'll do a little sit down afterwards, but my God, I just feel good. Oh. I think a lot of times I feel like I don't deserve things. This was the first job that I made this is the first job that the job before I was making $70,000, and I thought that was a lot, which is insane to me, because I genuinely thought never in my, like, a dream was to make six figures, a dream. Like I could not fathom it. And so the fact that I'm making like mid six figures is insane. And then I also know that there are so many other opportunities that I can be taking advantage of. I think it's just like opened up this like sense, it's opened up this opportunity that I didn't think I was capable of. And I think that is like the biggest thing that I can take from all of this, is the fact that like we self-sabotage ourselves by thinking we don't deserve things. And I think what's so hard is like when you come from a family who, like I'm the first one in my family to have gone to college, like first one. And so like I didn't know what I deserved, and I didn't know how to go about any of this. I didn't think that like this was possible. I just thought that you had to know people. And the people I went to school with, everything that I wanted, they were able to do unpaid internships, and like I sure as hell couldn't. So like I think it's just this sense of like I do deserve this, and I own that now, versus before I was trying to, I think, learning that like, yeah, you do deserve this. And I kept trying to have to like reiterate the fact that I do. And now I just feel like, yeah, opportunity is available for me, and I just have to take it. And I have to expect the fact that like, yeah, what's right for me, it will be for me. And I do deserve the things in front of me. So I quit my job today. This is weird. This is very weird. And next week I have to go on a work trip. So. Next week I am going to Atlanta to go on a work trip, and I'll be seeing everybody. So it will be a topic of conversation, I guess. Ugh, look at my dog. Just passed out. He's so cute. No, see? Look at him. Look at this little weirdo. I wish I could be a dog. He has no idea what's happening. He has no idea that we're broke now. So it is 3:30, but I also got recruited for a job and I ended up taking a call at lunch, and then I just got off a final call with them where they're submitting my information. So I'm not gonna lie, I am very overwhelmed in a good way by this. It feels like I've been struggling a little bit with the idea of leaving and feeling anxious. I think all of June I was probably the most anxious I've ever been, and it was kind of debilitating in a way. And I think that there's just this level of trying to just bring my nervous system into a state of feeling comfortable and calm that I'm just not used to. I grew up in a very emotionally charged and difficult environment. I wouldn't say it was the worst environment, but it was an environment that drastically changed, I think, how I function at like a basis level. And so I'm trying to relearn that. I'm trying to relearn how to sit in ease, sit in a calmer state. And making a decision like this feels very uneasy, but I've prepared. I've had multiple therapists tell me that I'm probably overprepared. But yeah, it just feels very like, I'm quitting something, but and I made this decision, and this entire week I got an incredible opportunity with my business on Monday, and then on Wednesday I get recruited for a job here that's making more money than I'm making now. And it just feels very good. I don't have another word. It feels good. It feels good to feel like this pulsating energy of anxiety is like leaving my body. But yeah, I guess I just want to say that like, if I'm sharing this and these thoughts, and I'm sure it's rambly and whatnot, but like, I want anyone, if you're feeling similarly, or if this is something you've been thinking about, just know that like getting through it and like sitting in that discomfort and sitting in those like states is so useful, even though it feels painful sitting through it or working on it or asking yourself questions or constantly ruminating on it. It's worth it, because ultimately, like this morning, it's worth it because ultimately it's allowed me to feel like I've explored every option. I've explored, considering different aspects and seeing if there's different ways I can go about it. But at the end of all of this, like, I do know that like I've tried everything, And I know that this is a decision that I've made. It's a sound decision, and I'm willing to have it be something that might potentially be, when I look back on it, it might potentially be something that I go, maybe you should have done something differently. But at the same time, like I feel like I could look back on this also and be like, what the hell? Why didn't you do this earlier? You know? So I think it's all a growth and learning process. And so I'm just sharing because I want anyone, if you potentially are going through something similarly, to also just know that like, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be difficult. If you are going through something, please let me know down below. And we can, I can share any, things that might potentially have helped, to kind of help me work through some of these thoughts or resources and stuff like that, because I've tried a lot of different things. I'm sorry if you see the lighting changing. It's on auto and I'm in a weird spot, but, yeah, I just wanted to share that. And I have to go into office. I have to go on a work trip on Monday. So, yeah, I'm going to have a weekend. August 1st, very early in the morning. Today's my last day of work. I can't believe it. I've been trying to spend time to record, to talk more about it, and it's been a bit of a whirlwind. And I've also been traveling for work, and so I was down in Atlanta, and then I had to drive and I was back in Grand Rapids. If anything, I have been just met with so much, what is the word? Because it is early. I've been met with so much, I think, understanding and similarities, and people have just expressed to me similar feelings, and if not similar, exact same feelings and thoughts and I guess worries, and I'm grateful that they felt comfortable in sharing that with me, because it has helped me feel even more confident that this was the right decision. So I think one of the conversations I've had is, you make this decision and it just feels like everything is falling into place. And while it's equally as scary, it's also slightly reassuring in so many different ways that I couldn't have imagined. And maybe my brain is looking for that, just to make me feel more comfortable and safe. But I do genuinely feel that when your body starts to rest, I've been sleeping 10 hours a night for the last, not last night or the night before, because I've just been running around, but I think it was 3-4 nights in a row, I've just been out. And I've never felt more I don't know how to explain it, but that body energy has just felt more at equilibrium with myself, and I'm just ready. But yeah, so today I have my last day. I am up early because I'm driving back to Grand Rapids. I have a really big announcement that I'm going to be making in the next video, but I got into something really, really cool. And basically from 5 to 9 tonight, I have from 5 to 9 tonight, I have a class or thing that I'm going to, and then it's an all-day thing tomorrow on Saturday, and then I finally get to take a break, and I'm going to the middle of nowhere. I'm going to my cabin, and I'm just gonna sit. I do want to talk about how very Pride and Prejudice this scene is, which is genuinely the reason why I woke up this morning and I was like, I have to get outside because this is insane. But all right, so let's get into the background. What happened? So exactly a year ago in 2024, it was August. Hi, baby. Good job. Exactly a year ago, I was in a relationship. We were living together and things were falling apart. My dad got moved into the hospital and he never came out. And then in September, that relationship ended. I moved out and a week later he passed. My dad passed. And I took about a week off. But there was a lot there. I did a lot. My mom didn't have a whole lot of things planned. And so there's just a lot of things mentally that I had to take care of. And I had about a week off from work. And I didn't take more time off because I was nervous to do so. Not in the way that I didn't think that my work would support it. I think they would have supported it, but I didn't know. I hadn't had something like that big happen to me. I've had a lot of people pass in my life, but I haven't had a parent. And so I didn't realize how much goes into it. And I also didn't realize that I would probably need more space and time than, in the past when other people have passed. And so I think I just leaned into doing what I knew, which was a routine. And so I took that week off, I went back to work, and then I also realized that I think internally I also knew that if I took more time, I would realize how big of a shift my life had taken in just the course of a week. And so I think part of it is internally I knew that by just jumping back into something that was consistent made sense. And so, when I look back on it, I probably wouldn't fault myself for making the same decision in that moment. But I ended up deciding very quickly that I needed to figure out where I wanted to go. I knew I didn't want to stay where I was, and so this was something that I had thought about previously before I got in that relationship, and so I went back to that, and it's been the best decision. So I moved to Chicago. I bought a condo, and I feel so deeply at home and at peace there. And so so basically I moved in December, and so in the course of those 3 months, my entire life, I blew up my entire life basically. And I made this joke, and I wrote this down in my journal as well when I was looking back, but I was like, well, at least I didn't blow up my entire life and quit my job. And then 6 months later, here I am. But I do think that internally I knew that there was this moment and this feeling that I had that a book was ending in my life. And I haven't had this feeling in a really, really long time, but I feel internally I knew that things were different, that something drastically had changed. Hi, buddy. Hi. Something drastically had changed, and I needed to. And so it was kind of like a forewarning in that way for myself that I internally knew this. And it's true. In September, it did genuinely feel like a book had ended, and I was starting a new one, and it felt I felt really excited, even though through all of the pain and through all of the deep feelings that I was having, I always knew that there was this lightness there that I could reach towards. And so I'm not gonna lie, this last year has been really difficult, but I will say that lightness I've always searched for, and I'm genuinely in it. It's day 2. This is Tuesday, my second full day off of not being in corporate, and I genuinely feel more in tune and like myself than I have in decades. And so if you're feeling similarly, or if you've been longing for that feeling, just know that it's possible. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how I made these decisions, what decisions I did, what decisions I made, and what things that I took action on to make sure that I was able to do this. So, my Pride and Prejudice moment is over, I think, but let's get to the next spot and we'll talk a little bit more. And it took me about 6 months to finally realize that this was the right decision. But I knew deep down that it was the right decision. I just had to, I think, mentally get my brain up to where like my heart felt. And that's really hard. It's hard to try and convince yourself that, you know, the worst of the worst scenarios aren't going to happen. And if you struggle with anxiety, that's also something that like my brain just goes to the absolute, like, what are all of the scenarios that we have to prepare for to be able to actually do this? And I think personally, I had to go through all of that. So if you are also doing the same thing, just know that like, give yourself time, give yourself a deadline, and talk to someone. But yeah, I definitely decided that, you know, it would be June 1st is actually what I wrote down back in February, because I think I just knew that like it was time. I had dreams, I had things that I wanted to do and try, and life is so effing short. And I think it was just this like moment, this deep like aching moment that I was like, you know what, life is so short to not look back on and go, oh my God, I'm so proud of myself. Or like, oh, I tried to do something that was scary and yeah, I failed, but like I fucking tried, you know? Like that's the thing for me that like I, at 35, like when I reflected back on it, I didn't want to be in the same state that I was, that I am, you know, in corporate, looking back on my time sitting in meetings all day, being exhausted and not knowing who I was, what I enjoyed doing anymore, not being able to focus on and read a book. Like, I didn't want that for myself anymore, and I didn't think that that was a life worth living. And so if I end up having to go back to that, that's okay. But I wanted to be able to know that at least I gave myself a shot, because that's all that matters, right? So, there's some bugs here, so we're gonna move. Now that we've officially moved on, what are we gonna be doing, right? So just like the rest of my series, just like the rest of my like videos I've had, I've started as like the work to dream diaries. Well, we're fully in the dream now, and so we are working. We're going all in on our dreams, and so follow along. I am in the midst of starting my branding and experience design company, and I've got some really exciting news that I'm going to be sharing in the next video. But I am full steam ahead. I just did a like weekend long boot camp, so it was very like pristine timing. My last day was on Friday, August 1st, and the boot camp started at 5 p.m. And then it was all day on Saturday as well. So I'm going to be sharing everything I'm learning, how I'm building it, what struggles I have, what I'm using. So if you're interested in that journey of outside of corporate life, of what it looks like to build a dream, you know, follow along, because you know, what is life for if not for trying? And I'm going to be sharing every step of the way, whether that be my fails, successes, and then also the things I learn along the way. But alongside of that, as if that isn't enough, I've already talked about this, but we're going to be working on writing and finishing our manuscript. So we've got two really big, meaty dreams that we're going to be working on, and I'm so deeply excited to share that. So follow along if you are in any midst of this journey, whether that's in your initial crisis moment in your mid-20s, or you're like me and you're 35 going, I don't want to be here at 40. I'm going to be sharing please let me know down below if any of this resonates with you, if there's aspects that you want to hear about with the corporate side of it, or if there's any other details. So I'm going to be here weekly for you guys, showing up and documenting this, because I'm doing this for other people, because I've been asked by so many people after I announced that I was leaving at work to how I made the decision, how I've set myself up to be able to do this. And if anything, it's helping me get up to my cabin. This is my grandpa's land that he had. We're in northern Michigan at the moment. It's so deeply quiet and calming, and this is, allowing me to kind of see this space also in a different lens. So I'm gonna be sharing a lot of these woodsy moments with you. So again, thank you so much for being here. Hopefully in post edit, I'm not going to regret all of my ramblings, but I don't know. I can't describe this feeling other than the fact that I am so grateful to be alive, to be able to work towards something that I love, to have the support I have in my life, and to be healthy and able to do this as well. So until next week, I will see you soon.